Well, the Prime Minister has been in pole-bound Karnataka. He inaugurated what's being described as India's largest helicopter manufacturing facility in Tumkur in Karnataka. Now, it is a landmark achievement as far as Hindustan Aeronautics is concerned. There will be hundreds, if not thousands, of helicopters which will be manufactured here over the next decade plus. Aerospace in India is booming. That's something the Prime Minister reflected on. But more than that, it was a sharp political attack which comes ahead of the Karnataka elections that would certainly be creating headlines. The Prime Minister hit out at the opposition. He alluded to the Rafale scam. And he suggested that this is the same Hindustan Aeronautics which the opposition kept bringing up over and over again during the time of the Rafale scam. The Prime Minister said that the opposition kept repeating a lie, senior leaders kept repeating a lie, but ultimately the truth emerged, and that this was the same Hindustan Aeronautics which is now going to be manufacturing all of these helicopters at the state-of-the-art facility. We'll be looking at that very closely, but first a quick look at some of the key quotes, key points made by the Prime Minister.
मुझे खुशी है कि आज सैकड़ों ऐसे हथियार और रक्षा उपकरण जो भारत में ही बन रहे हैं, जो हमारी सेनाएं उपयोग कर रही है। आज आधुनिक असॉल्ट राइफल से लेकर टैंक, तोप, नौसेना के लिए एयरक्राफ्ट कैरियर, हेलीकॉप्टर, फाइटर जेट, ट्रांसपोर्ट एयरक्राफ्ट, सब कुछ भारत खुद बना रहा है। – 2014 से पहले के ये आंकड़ा याद रखना, याद रखोगे? 2014 से पहले के 15 सालों में जितना निवेश एरोस्पेस सेक्टर में हुआ, उसका 5 गुना बीते 8-9 वर्षों में हो चुका है। यही एचएएल है जिसे बहाना बनाकर हमारी सरकार पर तरह तरह के झूठे आरोप लगाए गए। यही एचएएल है जिसका नाम लेकर लोगों को भड़काने की साजिश रची गई, लोगों को उकसाया गया, पार्लियामेंट के घंटे से घंटे तबाह कर दिए। लेकिन मेरे प्यारे भाइयों बहनों, झूठ कितना ही बड़ा क्यों न हो, कितनी ही बार बोला जाता हो, कितने ही बड़े लोगों से बोला जाता हो, लेकिन एक न एक दिन वो सच के सामने हारता ही है। आज एचएएल की ये हेलीकॉप्टर फैक्ट्री, एचएएल की बढ़ती ताकत ढेर सारे पुराने झूठों को और झूठे आरोप लगाने वालों का पर्दाफाश कर रही है।
Well, joining us now, Aishwarya Mahadev, spokesperson of the Congress Party. We're also joined in a few moments by Pramila Nasargi of the BJP. Aishwarya, the Prime Minister clearly alluding to Rafale, suggesting that, look, this is the same Hindustan Aeronautics, which came up time and again in connection with that entire scam, which was so wrong. There was a lie which was repeated, is what the Prime Minister said. How would you respond?
Good evening, Vishnu. I think, he spoke about what all had not happened in the previous regimes and what is happening now. I think what is very clearly happening now is the complete loss of statesmanship, because he's the Prime Minister of this nation that is giving to us a new capability in the defense space. And for him to be statesmanly is something that we expect, but clearly that is far too much to expect out of him, rather. And, in this idea of HAL, I am from Karnataka, I am from Bangalore. I was also part of not only looking at what happened with the Rafale issue, but also part of the conversation that Mr. Rahul Gandhi had with employees of HAL. Whether he likes it or not, whether he talks about a political ploy or not, in Vishnu, you are far more equipped with this. Forget the man hours and whatnot. There was an offset clause which would have allowed for transfer of know-how and technological expertise, which may have helped HAL. And I think that was something that in the Rafale that the Congress had pointed out. Today, the Prime Minister is expected to show far more statesmanly-like qualities by talking about the contributions in the field and congratulate the workers there instead of making it political. If he wants to get into that slugfest of offset hours, looking at Dassault, looking at the sort of communiques that were there, looking at Ambani coming in, then that's a completely different conversation to be had. Because he may believe what is in the public realm or what he tries to tell the public realm is real, Vishnu. But you and I also know that there were different things that disadvantaged HAL at the end of the New Deal being brokered.
And yet there was no dissenting verdict when 3 judges ruled against any request to reopen the case, which was the clean chit, if ever there was. Not one dissenting verdict.
Vishnu, I'm not going to perjure myself, or I'm not going to put myself in a place of being in contempt of any...
No, you aren't being in contempt. I don't think you'll be in contempt for this, but I'm just stating a point.
No, the fact of the matter is, Vishnu, I believe today the metric of what is right or wrong is not absolute when it comes to the judiciary, because my party opposes certain verdicts while you also see that the BJP has done it too, whether it's the right of privacy, whether it is Aadhaar, whether it was several other cases that you saw. And I don't think that the judiciary is per se the final realm of what is right and wrong. Sure. But I believe that there was a lot more that lot more than what meets the eye, and the Prime Minister should not have done this today in conversation whatsoever.
Pramila Nasargi, would you like to reply? I think the key point that Aishwarya was mentioning is that it wasn't statesman-like for the Prime Minister to rake up an old political controversy at an event like this.
It is not like that. Knowing fully well that the Supreme Court has given a green chit, complete. In spite of it, I do not know why Aishwarya is raking up. It's an occasion. All is well in war and love. So also is the election. We have to make use of all our arms, wherever it is. Now it is the election era. And what does it mean? It's our duty to point out to the country, stating, look here, this is the Congress party which raises always false news. They spread false news, fake news. That is their job.
No, but Pramila ji, the point is this. This is a landmark, it's a landmark event because this is India's largest helicopter manufacturing facility. It's one of the largest, if not the largest in Asia. On an occasion like this, which is really a business event, it's an aerospace event for India, did the Prime Minister really need to get into a political speech? I know the elections are there, but was this the occasion to do that?
What is wrong in it? Just tell me, is there anything wrong in it? Every public function is meant for it. It is for the public domain. It is for the public use. And he is no other person. He is the Prime Minister and he has every right to come and speak. Whatever has happened in the country, what is the progress that has been done. See, earlier we got...
But Pramila ji, are you comfortable with making, a defense and an aerospace issue into a political subject? Should that really be something that any government should be doing?
No, it is not a political issue. It's a progressive issue, developmental issue. We got the right, earlier we got all these things. Now we are doing it helicopter. For whose benefit?
No, but he made it a political issue, Pramila ji, when he brought up Rafale.
He has not made a political issue. It's a developmental issue. When a developmental issue...
No, ma'am, that's all clear. Pramila ji, that's all clear, completely. When he says that this is going to result in an industrial township, it's going to result in thousands of jobs, it's going to improve in exports, Atmanirbharta is important, this is all understood. It did become political when he said, ye wahi hal hai, which the opposition targeted repeatedly during the Rafale issue. That's when it became political, right?
No, I just tell you, See, incidentally, when the helicopter is brought to our Karnataka state and we are developing it, it's giving us thousands of persons employment. No, nothing wrong in Modi is stating. Look here, earlier occasion, the very opposition was telling, they may say about this also. Incidentally, it is not a straightforward talk about it. It is a talk which is for the consumption of the public. If somebody speaks ill about the helicopter, look here, earlier they did this and now also they may do it.
Okay.
Don't believe it. Don't believe it.
Aishwarya, respond to that. Pramila ji basically also mentioning what the Prime Minister said about the larger issues.
You know, it's a race to a bottom and clearly they have no competition whatsoever. I think there is still a certain amount of dignity and decorum when a man is dedicating something to the nation. It is truly something where he's expected to be bipartisan. He's expected to dedicate it to the country, irrespective of political differences, whether we like it or not. He's the Prime Minister of Bharat. He's the Prime Minister of India. He's the Prime Minister for everybody. And he's dedicating this not to one political affiliation or one side of the spectrum, but everybody else. And secondly, if you really want to talk about the canards and the lies, whatnot, if you're standing there or sitting there in HAL, and I've personally conversed with a lot of employees from HAL, there was a large loss in terms of technical know-how that was lost in terms of the Rafale deal, whether it is Supreme Court judges.
Look here, is this not politics, madam?
Interrupt you, ma'am.
I am just telling. I am the Prime Minister telling the workers, no loss has happened. And all these wrong things, wrong statements, fake news, statements of Congress has to be dispelled.
All right, one sec, Pramila ji, half a second. You know, we can't hear either of you. Let Aishwarya make a point. I'll come to you next. Pramila ji, I will. Pramila ji, I'll come to you next. Aishwarya, finish your point. Pramila ji, I'll come to you next.
Ma'am, I didn't interrupt you and I really hope that you don't do it. I think it's basic common courtesy that anybody should have. But Vishnu, the singular fact is, it should have been a statesmanly speech. It was not one. Secondly, if you want to talk about what happened to the employees of HAL, the lack of technical know-how, the loss thereof of it, it's a larger conversation that can be had. We just believe just because a state is going into elections, that you should not lose focus of the fact that you represent an entire country and not one political spectrum. And that is what we expect of the Prime Minister.
Okay, all right. Let's get.
I get into facts. I don't know if she will, Vishnu.
All right, Pramila ji, respond to that. Aishwarya says HAL was denied, and that she says is a fact.
I say what is wrong? I'm not able to understand what Aishwarya means. What has been done by Prime Minister, which is wrong? Which portion of it which is saying that it is a wrong statement, which is unstatemently like. What according to her statements lecture, and what according to her unstatemently lecture. This is just to make it clear. Which portion of it you say it is unstatemently like. Tell me which is the part, which portion of it. I don't think that any portion of the speech made by the Honorable Prime Minister is unstatemently like. He is a statement not only to Karnataka but all over the country.
No, but ma'am, Pramila ji, I'll tell you the part which Aishwarya said is unstatesmanlike. She is speaking specifically about the references to the Rafale deal and Hindustan Aeronautics. Her point being, why bring up something old? Be statesmanlike, talk about whatever else you're doing, but why take political potshots?
We don't depend upon what she is telling. She can't expect that Prime Minister must speak only this and that. He is Prime Minister and he has a right to speak about whatever has been done to the country. For the development of the country.
Okay. All right, ma'am, we are going back and forth on this one point. I think let's
talk about Rafale here. Why it should not be spoken?
Okay.
Just tell me why it should not be spoken.
Okay.
Tell me one good reason why he must not speak about Rafale.
It's shameful.
No, but ma'am, nobody says that he shouldn't speak about the rest.
Shame on you. Shame on you.
No, shame on you that you sit here with half facts and think you can shout into this screen and think we will keep quiet. Ma'am, I respect you.
You can't say shame on. I mean, you can't say you are shameful. How you can say that word?
I'm sure you're making...
Okay. Let's not get agitated. It's a simple debate. Let's not get agitated, Pramila ji. I don't think it's that big a deal. Let's leave it at that. I'm sure there'll be a lot more in the election campaign going forward.